On a rainy evening in New York City, a wealthy businesswoman meets a little girl selling flowers on the sidewalk. What the woman says to the child changes her life forever. On a chilly winter evening, the bustling streets of New York were alive with the sounds of honking taxis and hurried footsteps. Among the sea of umbrellas, a young girl no older than 8 stood near the corner of Madison Avenue, clutching a small bouquet of wilting flowers. Her clothes were thin, patched in places, and her shoes barely protected her from the cold, yet her hazel eyes glimmered with hope as she called out, "Flowers for sale!" Across the street, Evelyn Montgomery, a successful CEO and philanthropist, stepped out of her luxury sedan. Dressed in a tailored coat and designer heels, Evelyn embodied elegance and power. Her life was one of extravagance, her calendar filled with meetings and gala events. Despite her wealth, Evelyn felt a void, a hollow ache she attributed to years of focusing solely on her career. As Evelyn walked toward her destination, her eyes landed on the girl selling flowers. Something about the child, a blend of resilience and vulnerability, stopped her in her tracks. She hesitated for a moment before crossing the street, her curiosity piqued. Unbeknownst to both, this brief interaction would set into motion a chain of events neither could have imagined. Evelyn crouched to the girl's level, her designer gloves contrasting starkly with the child's bare, chapped hands. "What's your name, sweetheart?" she asked, her voice gentle but commanding. "Rosie," the girl replied, clutching the flowers tighter as if they might be taken away. She hesitated before adding, "Would you like to buy one, ma'am? They're only $1 each." Evelyn glanced at the bouquet, the petals tinged with frost. $1, you say? And how long have you been out here, Rosie? The girl's eyes darted to the ground. "Since morning," she whispered. "I have to sell these so I can buy dinner for me and my mom. She's sick." Evelyn's heart clenched. It was a story she'd heard before, but never in such raw, innocent words. This wasn't just another street vendor. It was a child fighting against odds no one her age should face. Evelyn reached into her purse, pulling out a crisp $100 bill. "I'll take them all," she said, her voice soft yet firm. Rosie's eyes widened in disbelief as Evelyn added, "But I want to talk to your mother. Can you take me to her?" Rosie hesitated. The last time someone had asked about her mother, it hadn't ended well. But something about Evelyn's demeanor, the kindness in her eyes, the warmth in her voice, felt different. "She's not far," Rosie said finally, clutching the flowers and leading Evelyn down a narrow alley. As they walked, Evelyn noticed how Rosie's small figure shivered against the biting wind. They passed dumpsters and graffiti-streaked walls before arriving at an abandoned storefront with boarded-up windows. Rosie pushed open a makeshift door made of plywood and motioned Evelyn inside. The room was dimly lit, with only a flickering candle illuminating the space. In one corner lay an old mattress, atop which a frail woman coughed into a thin blanket. Her face was pale, her cheeks sunken, but she managed a weak smile when she saw Rosie. "You sold all the flowers?" the woman rasped, her voice barely audible. Rosie nodded, her eyes darting to Evelyn. "Mom, this is—" She trailed off, unsure how to introduce the well-dressed stranger who now stood awkwardly in their humble abode. Evelyn stepped forward, her gaze softening as she knelt beside the woman. "My name is Evelyn Montgomery," she said gently. "I think I can help." The woman's name was Clara, and her story was one of relentless hardship. Once a promising artist, Clara had lost everything after a car accident left her with chronic pain. Unable to work, she spiraled into poverty, her husband abandoning her soon after Rosie was born. For years, she had relied on odd jobs and the generosity of strangers to survive, but her health had deteriorated further over time. As Clara recounted her tale, Evelyn listened intently, her heart heavy with a mixture of guilt and determination. She had spent years funding charitable initiatives through her company, yet she'd never truly connected with the lives those donations touched. Now, sitting in this cold, crumbling room, Evelyn felt a spark of purpose she hadn't experienced in years. "What do you need most right now?" Evelyn asked, her tone earnest. Clara hesitated. "A warm place to stay," she admitted, her voice trembling. "But I can't accept charity." "It's not charity," Evelyn replied firmly. "It's an opportunity for Rosie and you." She turned to Rosie. "How about you two come to stay with me for a while? We'll figure things out together." Rosie looked at her mother, hope flickering in her eyes. Clara hesitated but finally nodded. "Thank you," she whispered. Evelyn arranged for Clara and Rosie to move into a guest house on her sprawling estate. Nestled at the edge of the property, the guest house was modest compared to Evelyn's mansion, but to Rosie, it felt like a palace. Warmth replaced the chill that had become a constant companion in their lives, and for the first time in years, Clara slept soundly without worrying about the next meal. Rosie, though, remained cautious. While Clara quickly adjusted to their new surroundings, gratitude overflowing, Rosie spent her days exploring the estate with a mixture of wonder and apprehension. Evelyn noticed the little girl's hesitance and made a conscious effort to connect. She invited Rosie to bake cookies in the grand kitchen, showed her the library's towering bookshelves, and even let her feed the koi fish in the garden pond. One afternoon, Evelyn found Rosie sitting by the pond, clutching a sketchbook she'd been given. The pages were filled with drawings, flowers, animals, and scenes from the estate, all rendered with a surprising level of detail. "You're talented," Evelyn said, sitting beside her. Rosie shrugged. "My mom taught me." Evelyn's heart softened further. "Would you like art supplies? I can get you paints, brushes, anything you need." Rosie nodded hesitantly. "I don't want to ask for too much." Evelyn smiled. "Rosie, you're not asking. I'm offering." As the days passed, Evelyn saw more of herself in Rosie. The child's resilience reminded Evelyn of her own struggles growing up in a small town, striving to make something of herself. Slowly, Rosie's trust began to grow. Evelyn arranged for Clara and Rosie to move into a guest house on her sprawling estate. Nestled at the edge of the property, the guest house was modest compared to Evelyn's mansion, but to Rosie it felt like a palace. Warmth replaced the chill that had become a constant companion in their lives, and for the first time in years, Clara slept soundly without worrying about the next meal. Rosie, though, remained cautious. While Clara quickly adjusted to their new surroundings, gratitude overflowing, Rosie spent her days exploring the estate with a mixture of wonder and apprehension. Evelyn noticed the little girl's hesitance and made a conscious effort to connect. She invited Rosie to bake cookies in the grand kitchen, showed her the library's towering bookshelves, and even let her feed the koi fish in the garden pond. One afternoon, Evelyn found Rosie sitting by the pond, clutching a sketchbook she'd been given. The pages were filled with drawings, flowers, animals, and scenes from the estate, all rendered with a surprising level of detail. "You're talented," Evelyn said, sitting beside her. Rosie shrugged. "My mom taught me." Evelyn's heart softened further. "Would you like art supplies? I can get you paints, brushes, anything you need." Rosie nodded hesitantly. "I don't want to ask for too much." Evelyn smiled. "Rosie, you're not asking. I'm offering." As the days passed, Evelyn saw more of herself in Rosie. The child's resilience reminded Evelyn of her own struggles growing up in a small town, striving to make something of herself. Slowly, while Rosie and Evelyn grew closer, Clara struggled with feelings of inadequacy. She wanted to contribute, but feared becoming a burden. "I'm grateful for everything you've done," Clara told Evelyn one evening. "But I need to find work. I can't just stay here without giving back." Evelyn admired Clara's determination. "Let's start with your art," she suggested. "Do you still paint?" Clara hesitated. "It's been years. I'm not sure I'm any good anymore." Evelyn wouldn't take no for an answer. She set up a small studio in the guest house stocked with supplies. Clara spent her days rediscovering her passion for painting, while Rosie continued to bond with Evelyn. However, Not everyone welcomed Clara and Rosie's presence. Some of Evelyn's social circle began to gossip. "Are you running a charity now?" one acquaintance sneered at a gala. "Taking in strangers off the street?" Evelyn bristled but remained composed. "Sometimes helping others change lives, yours included," she replied firmly, silencing the chatter. The gossip reached Evelyn's board members, who questioned her priorities. Balancing her professional life and her newfound responsibility for Clara and Rosie proved challenging, yet Evelyn remained steadfast. "This isn't just charity," she told her assistant Lauren. "It's a reminder of why I worked so hard in the first place, to make a difference." As Evelyn juggled these challenges, Clara made a breakthrough. One of her paintings, inspired by Rosie's drawings, caught the eye of an art dealer visiting the estate. The dealer marveled at Clara's talent and proposed hosting a gallery show. For the first time in years, Clara felt hope for a better future. The gallery show became a turning point for Clara. With Evelyn's encouragement, she worked tirelessly to create a collection of pieces that reflected her journey, raw depictions of resilience, motherhood, and the quiet beauty found in fleeting moments of hope. Rosie often joined her mother in the studio, contributing ideas or quietly sketching at the corner of the table. Their bond deepened, and Clara rediscovered a sense of purpose she thought had been lost forever. The night of the gallery opening arrived, and the venue was abuzz with excitement. Guests marveled at Clara's work, her paintings eliciting emotions that left many in tears. "This is extraordinary," an art critic remarked, pointing to a piece titled "Rosie in the Rain." The painting depicted a young girl clutching flowers under a stormy sky, her face a mixture of determination and innocence. Rosie beamed with pride as attendees complimented her mother. Evelyn, standing off to the side, watched the scene unfold with a sense of fulfillment. This wasn't just a success for Clara, it was a testament to the power of second chances. Amid the celebration, an unexpected figure appeared. Evelyn's estranged younger brother, Daniel. He had been absent from her life for years, their relationship strained by a family dispute. "I heard about what you've been doing," Daniel said, his tone cautious. "It's impressive." Evelyn was taken aback but managed a polite smile. "Thanks, Daniel. Didn't think you'd show up." "I wanted to see for myself," he admitted. "Maybe I was wrong about you." The reunion was tentative, but it planted a seed for reconciliation. For Evelyn, the evening was proof that kindness could ripple outward in ways she hadn't anticipated. As Clara's art gained recognition, Rosie flourished in the supportive environment Evelyn had created. She began attending school, her natural curiosity and intelligence earning her top marks. However, the transition wasn't without challenges. Some of the wealthier students teased Rosie for her humble beginnings, unaware of the strength it had taken for her to get where she was. One day, Evelyn received a call from the school principal. Rosie had punched a boy who mocked her mother's past. When Evelyn confronted her, Rosie's eyes filled with tears. "He said we don't belong here," she whispered. "That we're just charity cases." Evelyn knelt to Rosie's level, her voice firm yet kind. "Rosie, people will always judge what they don't understand. But you're not defined by their words. You're strong because of where you came from, and no one can take that away from you." Rosie nodded, her resolve hardening. "I just want to make Mom proud." "You already do," Evelyn said, pulling her into a hug. Meanwhile, Clara faced her own set of challenges. Balancing her newfound success with the responsibilities of motherhood tested her limits. One evening, she broke down in tears while speaking with Evelyn. "What if I'm not good enough for this new life? For Rosie?" Evelyn placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Clara, you've come so far. You don't have to do it alone. Lean on the people who believe in you." Inspired by Evelyn's words, Clara began opening up more, allowing herself to accept support without guilt. She started volunteering at local shelters, hoping to give back and inspire others facing similar struggles. As the weeks went by, The bond between Evelyn, Clara, and Rosie grew stronger. Their lives, once marked by isolation, are now intertwined in a way that enriches all of them. Yet, as they navigated these changes, challenges loomed on the horizon, setting the stage for a climax that would test their newfound strength. One rainy afternoon, as Evelyn was preparing for an important board meeting, a knock at her office door interrupted her thoughts. It was Lauren, her assistant, with an expression of unease. "Evelyn, there's a situation at the estate." Evelyn's heart sank. "What's wrong?" "It's Clara. Her estranged husband showed up demanding to see Rosie. He's causing a scene." Evelyn felt a wave of dread. Clara had mentioned her husband briefly, describing him as an unreliable and self-serving man who had abandoned them when times got tough. Now he was back, threatening the fragile peace they had built. Evelyn rushed home to find the man, Marcus, arguing with Clara on the driveway. His disheveled appearance and aggressive tone made it clear he wasn't there with good intentions. "She's my daughter, too," he shouted, ignoring Clara's pleas to leave. "Marcus," Evelyn said firmly as she approached, "you need to calm down. This is not the way to handle things." He turned to her, his eyes narrowing. "And who are you to tell me how to handle my family?" "I'm someone who cares about Rosie and Clara," Evelyn replied, her voice steady. "If you truly want what's best for Rosie, this isn't the way to show it." The confrontation escalated until the police arrived, called by Evelyn's staff. Marcus was warned to leave or face legal consequences. As he stormed off, he yelled, "This isn't over," leaving Clara visibly shaken and Rosie in tears. That evening, Evelyn sat with Clara and Rosie in the guest house, trying to reassure them. "We'll handle this," she said firmly. "He doesn't have the right to disrupt your lives." Clara's voice trembled. "I'm scared, Evelyn. What if he tries to take Rosie?" Evelyn placed a hand on her shoulder. "We'll get a lawyer. Marcus abandoned you both years ago. The law is on your side." Despite Evelyn's confidence, the encounter left a shadow over the household. Rosie became withdrawn, and Clara struggled to focus on her art. Evelyn, too, felt the strain, balancing her responsibilities at work with her commitment to protecting Clara and Rosie. Days later, Evelyn received a court notice. Marcus was suing for custody of Rosie. The news hit like a thunderclap. Clara broke down in Evelyn's arms, sobbing, "I can't lose her, Evelyn. She's all I have." "We won't let that happen," Evelyn assured her. "We'll fight this." Evelyn's team of lawyers dove into action, gathering evidence of Marcus's neglect and abandonment. Meanwhile, Evelyn worked tirelessly to support Clara, reminding her to stay strong for Rosie. As the court date approached, tensions reached a boiling point. Evelyn found herself questioning whether she had done enough to prepare them for what lay ahead. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, she felt an unshakable resolve. They had come too far to let Marcus undo their progress. The courtroom was packed on the day of the hearing. Marcus arrived with a new lawyer, his polished appearance a stark contrast to the belligerent man who had caused a scene weeks earlier. Evelyn, Clara, and Rosie sat together, their united front unshaken despite the weight of the proceedings. The judge began by reviewing the facts of the case. Marcus's lawyer argued that he had a right to reconnect with his daughter, claiming he had been unfairly shut out of her life. Marcus painted himself as a changed man, ready to provide stability and support for Rosie. Evelyn seethed silently. The audacity of his claims was infuriating, but she knew the strength of their case lay in facts, not emotion. Clara's lawyer presented evidence of Marcus's abandonment, including witness testimonies and financial records showing years of neglect. As the proceedings continued, the judge called Clara to the stand. Evelyn watched nervously as Clara took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Your Honor," Clara began, her voice steady despite the tension. "Marcus left when Rosie was a baby. He didn't look back, not once. I've done everything in my power to give her a safe and loving life, and I will keep fighting for her future." When asked why she hadn't reached out for help sooner, Clara replied honestly, "I was scared. I didn't think anyone would listen. But thanks to Evelyn, I found my voice." The most poignant moment came when Rosie was asked to speak. Clara had been hesitant to let her testify, but Rosie insisted. Standing before the court, the young girl's voice was clear and unwavering. "I love my mom," Rosie said, looking directly at the judge. "She's always been there for me, even when things were hard. I don't even know my dad. He left us. Why does he get to decide what happens to me now?" The courtroom fell silent, Rosie's words hanging heavy in the air. Even the judge seemed moved by her earnestness. As the hearing concluded, Evelyn felt a surge of hope. Their lawyer had presented a compelling case, and Rosie's testimony had struck a chord. But the waiting was agonizing. Over the next few days, the tension in the house was palpable as they awaited the judge's decision. When the ruling finally came, it was a victory. The judge granted Clara full custody of Rosie, citing Marcus's long history of neglect and lack of involvement in her life. Clara sobbed with relief as Rosie clung to her, tears streaming down her face. Evelyn felt a swell of pride and gratitude. They had weathered the storm together, and the bond between them was stronger than ever. Yet as they celebrated, Evelyn realized that this wasn't just Clara and Rosie's victory, it was hers too. For the first time in years, she felt the emptiness in her heart beginning to fill. With the court battle behind them, life began to settle into a new rhythm for Clara and Rosie. The guest house transformed from a temporary refuge into a home filled with warmth and creativity. Clara resumed her painting with renewed vigor, her works reflecting the triumphs and struggles that had defined their journey. Her gallery pieces became more personal, resonating deeply with audiences and attracting even greater acclaim. Rosie, now attending school regularly, excelled in her studies and quickly became a favorite among her teachers. She often shared her experiences with Evelyn, who had become a steadfast mentor and friend. On weekends, Evelyn and Rosie spent hours exploring museums or working on small projects together in the garden. One afternoon, as they were planting flowers in the estate's garden, Rosie paused and looked up at Evelyn. "Do you think my mom will be happy forever now?" she asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. Evelyn knelt beside her, wiping soil from her hands. "Happiness isn't something we reach and stay at, Rosie. It's a journey. But your mom is strong, and so are you. Together, you'll make your own happiness." The child's thoughtful nod and bright smile reminded Evelyn of the joy she had found in building connections with Clara and Rosie. Their presence had changed her life in ways she hadn't anticipated. While Clara and Rosie thrived, Evelyn faced new opportunities in her own life. Inspired by her experiences, she began re-evaluating her approach to philanthropy. She partnered with local organizations to create initiatives focused on supporting single mothers and homeless families, ensuring they had access to resources and opportunities for a fresh start. One such program included a mentorship series where successful individuals shared their journeys to inspire others. Clara was invited to speak, her story a powerful testament to resilience and community. Nervously taking the stage, Clara began recounting her struggles and triumphs, her voice steady as she spoke of the people who had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. "My daughter and I are here today because someone saw us as more than just statistics," Clara said, glancing at Evelyn in the audience. "Evelyn taught me that asking for help isn't a weakness. It's a step toward building something better." The audience erupted in applause, and Evelyn felt tears prick her eyes. It was a moment of pride, not just for Clara's success, but for the ripples of change they had created together. Clara's speech became the highlight of the event, further solidifying her role as an artist and advocate. As Clara's reputation grew, so did her opportunities. Galleries across the country requested her work, and she began to receive commissions from prominent collectors. Despite her success, Clara remained grounded, often reflecting on the journey that brought her here. She credited Evelyn not just for her generosity but for the friendship that had given her the strength to rebuild her life. Rosie, too, blossomed in the supportive environment Evelyn had fostered. She began participating in school art competitions, her talent quickly gaining recognition. During one event, Rosie won first prize for a painting titled A Second Chance. The piece depicted a vibrant garden emerging from barren soil, symbolizing the new life she and her mother had found. As they celebrated Rosie's win, Evelyn proposed a toast in the guest house. "To Clara and Rosie," she said, raising her glass, "you've shown that resilience and love can turn the darkest moments into something beautiful." Clara smiled, tears brimming in her eyes. "And to you, Evelyn, for reminding us that kindness isn't just about what we give, it's about how we see people." Though life wasn't without its challenges, the three of them had formed a bond that felt like family. They supported one another through triumphs and setbacks, their lives forever intertwined. As the months passed, Evelyn noticed something she hadn't felt in years, a sense of fulfillment that came not from wealth or recognition, but from the connections she had built. Her mansion, once a symbol of solitude, now echoed with laughter and warmth. Months turned into a year, and the lives of Evelyn, Clara, and Rosie transformed in ways none of them had anticipated. Evelyn's once quiet mansion became a hub of activity. Weekly dinners brought laughter and shared stories, with Clara often recounting her latest artistic projects and Rosie excitedly sharing tales from school. Evelyn's new philanthropic initiatives gained widespread attention. Her foundation's programs for single mothers and homeless families inspired other business leaders to follow suit. At a charity gala celebrating the foundation's first anniversary, Evelyn took the stage to deliver a heartfelt speech. "A year ago, I met two people who reminded me of the power of compassion," she began, her gaze falling on Clara and Rosie in the audience. "Their courage and determination not only changed their lives but changed mine. Today, this foundation is not just about giving, it's about creating opportunities for people to rewrite their stories." The crowd erupted in applause, and Evelyn stepped down, her heart full. That evening, as she walked through the now familiar guesthouse door, Clara greeted her with a painting she'd created as a gift. It depicted a trio of figures standing together beneath a radiant sunrise, their shadows intertwined. "It's us," Clara said softly. "You, me, and Rosie." A family. Evelyn placed the painting on her mantel, a symbol of everything they had overcome together. In the days that followed, she reflected on the journey they had shared. Clara and Rosie had taught her that wealth and success meant little without genuine human connections. Rosie, now thriving, had begun dreaming of becoming an artist like her mother. "You've already inspired so many people," Evelyn told her one evening, "including me." "And you've inspired me," Rosie replied with a shy smile. "You showed me that it's okay to dream big." Meanwhile, Clara's gallery continued to flourish. She used her platform to raise awareness for struggling artists and advocate for underprivileged families. "You've built a legacy, Clara," Evelyn told her during one of their walks through the estate's garden. "Thanks to you," Clara replied. "You gave us more than a home. You gave us hope." Evelyn shook her head. "You had the strength all along. I just gave you the space to find it." The three of them stood beneath the estate's sprawling oak tree, the sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and gold. In that moment, Evelyn realized her life had come full circle. She no longer felt the emptiness that had once consumed her. "Sometimes," Evelyn said, her voice filled with emotion, "it's the people we least expect who teach us the most about ourselves." Clara smiled, Rosie by her side. "And sometimes it's those same people who help us see the beauty we've been missing." As they walked back toward the house, their laughter echoed through the air, a melody of love, resilience, and second chances.